Alright, today's mission is going to be to yank that GTO out of the garage, clean it up. Kind of exciting. I'm going to show you the drivetrain. I'm going to show you the engine that's going in this car. Let's go. Open the trunk. I'm pretty sure I needed a trunk pan. I think it was rough when I sold the car. I think I remember mentioning, yeah, I'm gonna need some work in the trunk. Oh, we put a new pan in. Well, we put in patches of pan, so I'll carry on with that then. There's a cutoff wheel I'll probably use. Yes, water is going to be getting in the car, but it'll dry. I'll mop it up, but it needs a good spray everywhere to get all the dust off. That's what we're going to do now. Alright, there we go. An initial spray. I think we took more paint off than we did dirt. That old paint is garbage. It looked good for a minute there when it was wet, and then it dried. It's just, this paint is junk. But this engine bay, I think, looks great. It's in awesome condition. I'll slap a new coat of black on everything. Rust will dry. All right, so what we have here is a classic old 1965 Pontiac 389 from a 65 GTO that came to me the first time around as a 4-barrel. So I'm pretty sure it was a 4-barrel factory engine. I tracked down a 65 intake with 2 end carbs on it way back in the day. I'm not even sure if it was Marketplace, probably was Kijiji at the time. And then I found a new old stock center carb that isn't quite right, but I found out, I'm gonna have to find the fella's name that I was dealing with 10 years ago, maybe 11. And he says, here's what you need to do to make that a proper front carb. I have all the books and stuff on these, and there's lots now I find on YouTube that I didn't have, that wasn't up actually when I owned this car last. So we got all 3 carbs plumbed a lot nicer than I had it. The young lad that worked on these over the last 10 years has them really nicely cleaned up and really nice looking fuel lines. And of course the main line up is right, would hook up there. the top end on this isn't bolted down, so the bottom end has been taken care of. He did a really good job building this engine and making sure everything was right. He had a buddy that was an engine builder. We've got valve covers are just sitting here, so let's take a look underneath. Very nicely done, ready to run. He put a nice set of roller rockers on. Awesome. Much better than I had when I sold it to him. And I mean, is there a better looking engine than a Pontiac Tripower? Man, that looks good. I'll have to get the linkage worked out better. I think I'll just buy the proper pieces. I remember I created this system one time, way long time ago, and I thought, oh, that'll work, you know. So this rod just slides up inside here, and I thought, oh yeah, well, you know, you open the center carb and eventually it'll get to this and then push that, but it gets to it like immediately, and so like you hardly have any center carb movement, and already the outside carbs are working. So that's no good. You can't be running on all three carbs at, you know, just leaving a stop sign nice and gentle. So I'm going to get the proper linkage here. It has to do with, you know, extending up higher so that it'll move a lot further. There's a slot in the arm. I'll take care of all that. It's not expensive. I think we've got the carburetors backwards here. Pretty sure it's the front carb that is supposed to have the vacuum port on it for power brakes. This one might not. Oh yeah, there it is. See how the bung down there is not drilled out and tapped? That's supposed to be on the back so that it doesn't interfere with the distributor. The way I understand it. Got lots to learn yet, but no problem switching the carbs around. I just don't remember too much about the setup. I just remember I stuck it on, went for a ride around the block, was so far off that it was just pouring fuel in the engine, and I decided to park it until I have more time to work on these, and then I never did get the time, so I sold the car. But yeah, I'll swap those two around. I can't remember if we needed a vacuum line on the center carb. I think so. I think that one was for vacuum advance. So yeah, that's vacuum advance. This carb will go on the front. That'll be for power brakes. And this one just has nothing because of the distributor. So this is the aftermarket, sorry, not aftermarket, but the new old stock carb I found on eBay about 11 years ago. I just haven't done the modifications to it to make it a proper 389 center carb 1965. So 1965 GTO engine in a 1973 GTO. I just think that's a cool combination. And that's what's gonna happen. And for the purists that say, no, you can't do that, you have to put a 73 400 block in that car with 4X heads. Well, you can do that with your 73 GTO. All right, so that's what we're working with. Let's get to it. All right, it's a beauty day outside, but let's go in the shop and see if I've improved anything. All right, so you'll see right off the bat, I got the car in, and by camera, it may look like it's in here pretty tight, but I'm gonna walk around it and show you. I got room all the way around. First things first though, I got my TV set up here because where better to watch YouTube clips than out in the shop beside your car and engine. That's the best. All right, so if we just sort of go counterclockwise through here, well, I'll walk around the car real quick first here, and you'll see I got tons of room all the way around. Oh, I got these lights in the way. I'm going to move those shortly. And yeah, so all the way around, no problem. And of course the car's on dollies, so I can adjust it as needed as I get into things. So what do I got in here? Do I have enough stuff to work on this old car and get it back to roadworthy? I'm going to take a minute first and change something huge. Remember I said that, oh yeah, like I'm gonna restore this car and YouTube's gonna help me restore it. I'm not using the word restore anymore. The research I've done with the word restore in it is $35,000 up. So what I'm going to do is repair the car, make it roadworthy, and drive it. But I am going to paint it. I'm going to do some, I want to try doing some body work on it. I have all the tools, as you'll see shortly. Well, not all the tools, but I have some tools. All right, so starting up here in the corner, I got a backup air compressor, just sort of general duty and more for outside stuff than in here. I have a big one in the back corner there that I'll get to shortly. But it does have, you know, some fittings up here for this compressor. And, you know, some of my favorite potions that I need real quick. Rather than run around looking for it, this is my little shelf. Oh, we got a buddy in here. Gonna have to get rid of that. This toolbox is just for hardware, nuts, bolts, washers, screws, and nuts, bolts, washers, screws. That's it. And then some other different things down here, you know, tune-up stuff, different, you know, brake line bender type tools. Got a little portable sandblaster unit down in there. That's not supposed to be in here. It's just an old trailer hitch. Here's my, well, here's my camera charging station first. So it's got 4 ports on it, so I can charge 4 cameras. And these drawers are really handy for just putting your camera in them when you're charging, like this one is. GoPro 3, imagine that, still functions. And then my still shot camera I use for, it's actually a pretty good little camera, but it overheats and doesn't last very long. So I usually just use it for still shots now, but some video. All right, arc welder, 30 bucks at an auction about 20 years ago. Great big Miller. I think it was made for building battleships, not touching up things in my shop, but hey, it's here and it works. Oxyacetylene, except it's not acetylene, it's propane. So I do have a cutting torch here that I've converted over to work with propane. And I also have a brazing tip over here, and they're both connected all the time by a Y. So yeah, I've got both of them going at the same time. Just make sure I turn them off. And then my little MigPack 10 that I have to learn how to use because I've never used it. Well, I did a little bit, but now I need to learn how to use it on body panels, on sheet metal. This is the most comfortable seat in the history of seats. I think maybe a farmer built this thing out of an actual pigskin. And then we've got a homemade welding bench. And then I got a big piece of railroad tie back there for hammering on and bending if I can't use the anvil. Then curved throat Beverly shear. These things are immensely expensive. That's why I haven't replaced the broken blade here. I think they're about $700 to replace. So I just take shorter cuts, and that's how it is. I think I paid 12 bucks for that one at auction because nobody knew what it was. And I was happy about that. So you have a bird bath because you have to have a bird bath in a shop, right? I just like it because if I've just got a handful of nuts and bolts or different things, just throw them in there and they don't roll off, they don't fall out. It's just a great little table just to toss things in for a minute. This is my grinding center, or grinding/sanding center. So obviously a good grinder here, DeWalt grinder, stone and wire wheel. And then I have my sander, but I want to replace that because it's missing the table here, and it's just, I'll just get a new one and plunk it down there. Yes, I made all my own mounts and stuff for it. Little grinder back there is very fine stone. I just use it to sharpen drill bits by hand. And then my belt sander up here is missing the belt. I got to get a belt. All right, there's my heating system. just that. And it heats this whole shop. It takes a little while to warm up, but then it does. 220 volt, so it kicks out some heat. Here's my sound system. Just a whatever amp. In this case, it's an Akai amp, and it runs an iPad on top. Can't play music right now because I'll get a strike and get kicked off of YouTube. I figure I'll use this for doing videos over the workbench here. Another steel workbench with lots of storage underneath, and all my electrodes are in there. Tons of them. Probably a lot of them are too old to use now. I'll have to throw them out. My hammer rack that I made many decades ago out of a piece of steel and my Beverly shear. And I had them all organized, but now it's just whatever goes in there, because now all my hammer collection is different than it was when I built that thing. Just a little more storage up there on shelves. Got a decent light over the bench now. Didn't have that before. Got to have an air conditioner in a shop, right? How are you supposed to do anything in a shop if you're not completely comfortable? So that's what I have. I have a little window deal. It works pretty good. And the speakers up there are old stage monitors. That's what I'm running my sound system off of. And my old skateboard has made it the cut again. It sits up here. Had that made for me down in Florida. I had a skateboard shop in 1973, I believe it was. Logan Erskine. And then just another one. I don't even know what that one is. It was here, so I stuck it up there. So that my skateboard could have a buddy. Maybe even a girlfriend. And then all the GTO, well, not all of the GTO parts, but some of the GTO parts are up top here. You can see in the very back, I have 2 new rear quarters, but they're only 20 gauge and they're really thin. And so I don't think they were really meant to be quarter replacements, more like patch panels. So cut off the pieces you need and use them. And that's what I plan to do here. I'll get to the car in a minute. So there's my interior panels up there, and my seats and this and that are all shoved back in there. And if you look real close, you can see my center console is in there. And all right, so back in there is the console. There's the GT wheel, and I'm going to put, there's a chrome one behind. Try not to see both at the same time kind of thing. But the Grant wheel up front is what I'm going to put in the GTO, because it kind of just at first glance works good with the IROC rims. I just love these IROC rims. I know most people would never put Chevy rims on a Pontiac, but that's what I'm doing because I like them that much. And I have a spare set in the back shed just in case I have a problem with these ones. And wide tires all the way around. This car handles spectacularly. It really goes around the corner well. And it's all because of that. That big 1 1/8, I believe it is, possibly 1 1/4 inch sway bar in the front. And it's got a 1 inch sway bar in the back. This car stays plenty flat around the corners. Of course, you have to have 2 old bicycles in your shop. You just can't let go of your childhood, can you? This is kind of a cool one, a 1975 Raleigh chopper. Here's my roll of cardboard, a lifetime supply, probably many lifetime supplies of cardboard for cutting templates to make patch panels and stuff like that on the car. My drill press comes next, and it's in a good spot. It's clear on both sides now, so I can get to everything on both sides. And I have a little tray here for just dropping in whatever drill bits and the things that would normally roll off your bench. This has a nice lip around the edge, so nothing's rolling off. But right now it's lighting up the tire center. So my tire machine is working great. I've done a bunch of work on that in the last couple weeks. Swapped steel rims on my Falcon over to centerline aluminums, and yeah, we'll do something on that car at some point. I'll be pulling it out and maybe do a quick walk around. I'll show you my compressor. It's in the other room. I like it in here because it's not making so much noise. And so there it is, some old Brunner thing. The sheet is hanging there because for some reason it spit a few drops of oil out of it onto the hood of the Falcon, and I didn't like that. That made me unhappy. Back to the shop. Now the manifold from that compressor on the other side comes through the wall here. I didn't know that until just recently. It comes through down there and then feeds this pipe, and it has 3 connections on it. So this one I have set to 90 PSI for air tools. And that's what the long hose is for, and that's what I'll use most of the time. This one is straight off the manifold, back in there, and it just runs high pressure, I think 110 or so. And I'll connect that to the tire machine when I use it, because I want as much pressure as I can get for this thing to run. There's my other Beverly shear. This one's a straight cut. So there's no curve. You can't run a curve in that. You have to run your steel straight through it. And then my super awesome sandblaster, full of sand. And I don't have it vented outside at all. I just have it vented into this old central. Yeah, this is an old central vac system from a house. So I just have to pop these tabs now and then and empty that out. Collects the dust just fine. It's a little noisy. And you'll see it connects also to full blast air pressure back here. So that's the third connection. Let me throw this on real quick and have a little listen. So the hood's here and it's got a lot of surface rust on it. I'm gonna do a little sanding to see if you know how bad it is, how bad the pitting is. I'm probably gonna have to do an acid wash on it, as is with the fenders. But I'm gonna do a little sanding first just to see how bad they really are. This hood's gonna need some work. It's not perfect by a long shot. I'm not sure what's going on here, what this gray stuff is. Do they make Bondo in gray? Maybe. But I might cut that out and see what I've got. And I can get to it from the bottom, so I might pop it back up. Oh, maybe I can't get to it. There's a frame in there. Anyway, it's sitting on foam and blankets and stuff, and it's waiting for me to get to it. And then all the car parts are sitting in baskets down here underneath. Except for that, believe it or not, a 16 horse Briggs & Stratton engine isn't what runs this car. Oh my God, there's a lot of bits and pieces, everything, tons of stuff. And then the engine is still sitting here. I normally keep it covered up, but because I was shooting a movie, I thought, well, I should pull the cover off so it just looks nicer. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be pulling, it looks like this whole front section has been torqued on, it's siliconed up and everything, but I reach in and I feel that timing chain and it's really loose. So I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Probably gonna put a new timing chain on it. At least do some research on that. That doesn't look right. See, that gasket doesn't seem to fit right. So there's lots of things like that I need to look at. You'll notice things aren't even bolted on. So, you know, that the intake's not even bolted down. So there's lots of stuff to look at on this, but at least I have it, and yeah. All right, we're back to where we started. What did I forget? What do you want to know? Do I have enough tools? I think this is good enough to work on an old car. I think I got enough room. I guess I'll find out, because I'm gonna start hacking away on this car as soon as possible. Perfectly good fridge to stick, it's ready to be filled, because yeah, how are you supposed to work on a car dead sober? I know it's a low production car, and that's why it's being fixed. Otherwise, if this was just a straight up Le Mans, it probably would have been wrecked a long time ago. It's all about the serial number with this car. All right, so that should be enough for now. I think I'm set up pretty good for both working on the car and for shooting movies. So I'll show you everything I do, except for all the swearing parts. I'll cut those parts out mostly. All right, cheers, take care.